Hello and welcome, everyone. It is time to enter the Kumite. This is not a sport. I repeat, this is not a sport. You don't play fight. I'm joined today by my friend and fellow colleague, Daniel Caballero,
Hello.
and our technical engineer, the Nine Pro Ninja himself, Sean Myers. Today we'll be discussing the latest Kumite gossip, but first, if you enjoy the content we're creating, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. That way you can stay up to date with the latest Kumite gossip. Okay, today we'll be discussing UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus Gastelum.
This was a crazy day of fights. There's a lot to be,
Uh,
lot to be discussed.
You could say crazy. It was a good fight card,
The
especially
fight
that
card
last
itself,
one.
The day is what I'm referencing, and I guess we'll get to that a little bit
Right.
later.
Yeah, it was a crazy day. You had Doja Cat. You had freaking Justin Bieber. You had it was really weird. All right.
That was very weird.
So starting in the prelims, we're not going to be going through all of them, but there's definitely some notable fights here. It's a lot of split decisions on this card. There was four.
I've
Four out of
noticed.
10,
A lot
almost
of
half.
Even talent that shows. Do you think that shows good matchmaking? You know, because these guys are at a perfect level for each other that they're getting these kind of decisions.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really I don't know if there's a conspiracy there or not.
I mean, I guess it shows that they're at least, trying. They're not putting, Smurfs with people who are just wiping the floor.
Yeah, they're not doing the boxing tactic.
No.
We're like, hey, we're gonna give you like 40 tomato cans, and then we're gonna
exactly.
have you fight someone who's worth a damn. So starting off, let's discuss a little bit about Gerald Meerschaert, GM3 versus Bartosz Fabinski. Meerschaert winning by first round guillotine. I gotta say, Meerschaert after his loss to Khamzat looked hungry. He wanted it. He came out there ready to fight. He was not his usual casual self in there.
He came out swinging because it only took 2 minutes for him to get the submission.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he was kind of humiliated by the Khamzat defeat, getting one-shotted by a wrestler. But now GM3 has 24 submissions under his belt. That's a crazy number.
That is a huge number.
That is.
Is that anywhere close to a record? I wonder.
I wonder if there is a record.
Let's see.
Like if it's anywhere on the radar for submission records. I don't.
And are these submissions within the UFC, or
No,
whole record?
No. I still believe he has a good bit of UFC.
Right now, Charles Oliveira holds 14 submissions in the UFC.
In the UFC.
I don't
wow.
know what is Meerschaert's record within the UFC.
Yeah, I don't know. That's definitely something to look up.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But yeah, it was a good fight. Fabinski is not a bad fighter at all. He definitely has some promise to him. I think he just got a little careless there and got wrapped up in a guillotine. He was a good wrestler. I remember I started paying attention to Fabinski after he beat Emil Meek, the hot prospect Viking star that everybody wanted to see succeed, and just didn't quite cut it. I don't know where he went. I don't even know if he's in the UFC anymore.
Wow.
He just kept getting out wrestled though. It was really annoying to watch. Jessica Penne versus Godinez. Penne by split decision. This was an interesting fight. Godinez was wearing her like a backpack, dude.
Yeah, she was hanging on for dear life most of that fight.
Yeah, well, I mean, Godinez was definitely winning at range, and Penne was doing a really good job at punching and kicking her way into the grappling, and then just wrapping her up.
Yeah, she had a few good times of slamming her down, giving some good little wrestling style.
Well, yeah, because the way that Penne was like hung on to her, there was 3 different times where Godinez like just straight WWE slammed her
had to
on the canvas, like to make a point, like just get off me. Kind of reminded me of the Masvidal Maya fight.
That is very true.
Maya's like a spider monkey, and Masvidal couldn't get him off, but Godinez like Undertaker style last righted that girl on the ground.
Oh my God,
crazy.
it was
3 times. I was like, what is this turning into?
But she ended up getting the split decision. What do you think that does for the fighter when it comes to like picking their next fight?
I think if a fighter loses a split decision, it helps not. I mean, most people, a lot of casual fans are just gonna see the second number and be like, oh, they lost 6 fights. Like, like lose a little bit of credibility with the casuals. But for the people who keep up, and our avid watchers, they remember like, hey, that last fight was a really close fight, and I actually scored this person to win it.
It sucks to become a stat like that, that it's just a loss on your record. But, and I mean, it's one of those, you win by an inch or a mile kind of things.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of the hardcore fans, it's not really. You don't lose any street cred
No,
for losing a
exactly.
split decision.
It's just a matter of, whether it's the casual fan or
This person was just a little bit better that night.
Just
a little bit sharper that night. But yeah, ultimately it was a good fight. I definitely want to see Godinez back. Panay, she's been out of the game for a while, but she came in and she got the dub today. But I feel like Godinez is going to be a decent force to be reckoned with in the division.
Well, what about the next fight? Romanov versus Espino. Romanov by split decision. How do you think
by
that?
A technical split decision.
We'll
get into that in a second.
Yeah.
So I was really excited, and I have never heard of Alexander Romanov. I guess I just missed him on my radar. We have two really good European grapplers, which is very rare. But I remember getting really excited for learning about both of these gentlemen's backstories, and then wanting to see what was going to happen when they came up against each other. But this is weird. This kind of tested my understanding of the rules a little bit. So Espino accidentally, unintentionally, kneed Romanov in the groin. So the fight ended up being stopped to that because Romanov couldn't continue.
Really?
I don't want to dig into the whole, was he playing possum? Was he doing this? Was he doing that? I don't want to even get into all that. But he couldn't continue the fight because he got kneed to the groin. And they asked what was going to happen, the commentators. And someone hopped on the mic and said that they were going to score the third as a partial round. I've never heard that before.
So, like, did they score like 4-5 or something like that?
I don't know. But yes, it was so strange. I gotta look further into that. But apparently they scored the third as a partial round, and they scored the first 2 rounds as normal. And the point was not taken in that last round for the shot to the groin.
They didn't take the point away. It's probably because it was the first time he struck, so they had to get the warning.
He got the warning, yeah. And I don't think it should be taken. But then again, the groin strike was so severe that Romanov could not.
You don't believe that maybe the severity of the strike that is illegal, such as like these recent knees to the face while somebody is down, groin shots. John Jones and his famous eye pokes. You don't think like if it's too severe, should they go ahead and just get that point deducted first time it happens?
I think if it's so severe you can't get up, they should. But
exactly.
Either way, Romanov ended up getting that technical split decision, even without the point being taken. I agree with that. That's hard. I mean, I feel like Espino was definitely starting to take over. Romanov was getting a little too tired. I mean, they were both gentlemen were very tired at the end of that second round. They both had to you could tell they were fighting every step of the way to get to their corner. Their stool.
Man,
it was a good fight, man. And I was really loving the grappling transitions. And man, I'd like to see a rematch. I don't know if either gentleman are really interested in a rematch. It doesn't really do much for either of them, but that was a very unfortunate turn of events on a good fight against for some potentially really strong heavyweights.
With all the rules they have nowadays, and I mean, I get a groin shot is a groin shot, and there's some sports. I know when I was in Taekwondo growing up, groin shots were 100% legal. I mean, it's a matter of the of course the sports commission and all that, and I know that's nowhere near legal during the UFC. But don't you miss when it was like in our Pride days? When like our boy Andre Arlovsky. I said that right that time, didn't it?
Andre Arlovsky. Yeah.
Okay, that would have been a good segue. But yeah, don't you miss him fighting in Pride? And now he's on this card fighting Chase Sherman.
Yeah. Man, Arlovsky has been in this game a long time, and he was young when he came into it too. He started off as really just a brawler, just quick hands, powerful powerful right hand. And he was just fast, really. And he's had ups and downs all along the way. He fought all the way back in Pride.
Such a
I
long
believe he
ago.
was a Strikeforce champion.
One of the only ones still in the UFC, if not
WC
the only
maybe.
one still in the UFC from the Pride days.
Yeah. Hold on. Fabricio Verdum wasn't ever in Pride, was he?
He's not even fighting very much anymore, is he? When did the last time he fought?
Felt like a year ago.
Exactly.
Mm.
Year's a long time for a fighter to be off, man. But I guess, Connor did it. Came back 2 years later.
Yeah, but Arlovsky said he wants a few more years, ideally, which is just crazy to think about. You'd think a few more fights. He's 42.
He's ready to keep going, bro. He ain't retiring yet.
He's and when
he's
he's
still
asked
got
about it,
10 more years on his pension.
when he's asked about it, he's like, I hope Dana and Sean Shelby and them let me stay for at least a few more years.
Right.
Wow, this dude. And Chase Sherman, he's a good prospect. I wouldn't say he's a prospect. I'd say he's a good potential gatekeeper for the heavyweight division one day. I'm from Mississippi. I got a little bit of that Mississippi pride in me.
There you
down
go.
there, deep down there. But yeah, Chase has gotten better. He's definitely gotten more technical. He's training with Mike Winklejohn and them up in New Mexico now. And you can tell they're trying to turn him around, kind of diversify his striking.
They were hoping the young blood would take out, I guess, the older wolf, but because Andrei Arlovsky was the underdog in this fight.
Yeah.
And it's happy to see one of these decisions wasn't, split and that he actually was able to take it,
Arlovsky's 3 out of 4 right now. He's looking good, and he's only taking out prospects. The only recent loss he's had is Tom Aspinall. But Tom Aspinall is a really top-notch English prospect. So I wasn't surprised that he lost to Aspinall. I was surprised that he beat Chase Sherman. Chase, at one point in the fight, was claiming that he wasn't able to put any weight on his front leg. So I guess Arlovsky caught him with some good calf kicks, and it took away some of that power that Chase Sherman has. And Arlovsky doesn't have the best chin anymore. Now he's just more responsible, and that's what keeps him.
Well, he's growing old, and he can't take that much damage. I'm sure he's not one that's been, just pommeled all his life, but because if he has, he wouldn't have lasted this long. So now he has to. If he wants more fights, he can't take too much more damage.
Yeah, I don't know. He's been knocked out a lot. That'd be an interesting special. All the times Arlovsky's been knocked out. But no, it wasn't a crazy interesting fight, but Arlovsky played it smart. Arlovsky stayed responsible, picked him apart from the outside, and made Chase Sherman pay for coming in too close, too carelessly. Last fight on UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus Gastelum. What do you know? It's Whittaker versus Gastelum.
Fight of the night.
And in my eyes, it's definitely fight of the night. It's very interesting. Whittaker, man, he has cleared out the division. He's cleared out the division more than Adesanya has. Don't get me wrong. I still don't know if I see him beating Adesanya, but
just like Brunson was the gatekeeper in his division, now Whittaker's the gatekeeper to Izzy. I love the way that he fights. I love watching him, and I love the fact that he's probably going to get a rematch against Izzy.
He definitely deserves it. You could tell Marvin Vettori was there that night, and after Whittaker just got a 50-45 against Gastelum, you could see him just get pissed off. Just like, damn it, there goes my title shot. If Whittaker would have lost this, I might have got the title shot after this.
Yep, and it was hilarious too. While Michael Bisping was interviewing Whittaker during the post fight, he was asking him, obviously assuming that he's not. That he would get the fight. What does he think about it? And I loved Whittaker's humbleness. The entire time he's just like, man, I wish the best. Like, he's a great fighter, and I really want to fight him again. And at the same time, Izzy tweets saying, "Good luck, good job, my son."
Good job, my son.
It was the craziest thing.
Yeah.
It was funny, but
kind of getting his head early a little bit.
Exactly.
Like,
he knows that
you're
he's
like
going to be
the
the
little
next one.
brother of the division, bro. You go handle my lightweight. You make sure they don't get to me.
Well, it's going to be an interesting fight to see Whittaker. Again, I love the way he fights. He has that karate style, that
Snappy
sneaky
jab from the hip.
that sneaky kick to the head
Sneaky
behind a
head kick
straight.
behind the fake right.
Mhm.
Ooh. And man, Whittaker's fast.
He
Whittaker's
is.
fast, and you could see it. And he was kind of like the matador out there because Gastelum almost always moves it. Either straight forward or straight back.
Mhm.
Gastelum doesn't do enough lateral movement.
No.
It's something I think he needs to work on. I think Darren Till laid out a good blueprint to beat Gastelum. Don't overcommit, leg kicks.
Yeah.
Mix up your strikes. Move laterally. Move laterally. That's how you beat Gastelum. And Whittaker was doing a really good job at getting that outside foot advantage, and throwing his right crosses when Gastelum would be moving in, and then he had that snappy jab just ready, like anytime in open distance he would snap that jab out, and even if it didn't land, like it would stop Gastelum from coming forward.
Props to
Gastelum would have to like reset up another angle, try to come from another side.
Props to Gastelum though, because he was taking some shots in
He
this,
took that
and
freaking head kick, dude.
Yeah, and he
Oh
just
my
kept
God.
trucking along. There was so many times when I thought that he just wasn't gonna be able to make it. There was a time where his stance just became completely vertical, and I thought he was just gonna fall forward. And he stayed up, he stayed fighting, and you got to appreciate the guy's heart. Yeah.
Yeah, that man's chin is made of adamantine. I swear.
Crazy striking by Whittaker, almost doubling the amount of strikes that Gastelum was throwing. 169 strikes, 56% complete hit rate. And plenty of them were significant. 150 significant strikes out of those. 4 takedowns.
Significant jabs, man, I'm saying.
4 takedowns on top of that. He was tripping him up really well,
Now-
using some of his judo to that advantage.
Now,
man.
that's what interests me in this Adesanya fight coming into the next one. I don't think that Robert Whittaker's going to come in there and he's going to take him down. He's going to beat him up for 5 rounds. No way. No way that's happening. But if Whittaker uses his wrestling, because he has some, at least when it comes to defensive wrestling, that's probably some of the best defensive wrestling I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
What Whittaker has. What he did to Jacare, what he did to Tim Kennedy, what he did to... not Tim Kennedy. That was Kelvin Gastelum. I think that Izzy, one of his weaknesses, and Jan Blachowicz showed it, is, he likes to lean his head away from those punches. And I think if Whittaker has just the right amount of overhands with his head kick, with his takedowns from the hip, I think he's gonna give Israel Adesanya some new things to think about. Like he's gonna test his defense, and Adesanya has fantastic defense, but Whittaker's fast. Whittaker's faster than Gastelum. And Gastelum got inside on Adesanya multiple times, and Whittaker moves laterally. Gastelum doesn't. And if Whittaker can make him pull on those punches, make Adesanya pull on those punches, he might get that takedown. And now Adesanya has to think about that, and that can open up those bigger shots later.
Do you think that Whittaker maybe have learned anything from the Izzy Blachowicz fight that he might take into consideration going into a rematch?
Oh yeah. He doesn't need to rush inside, because a lot of people, after watching a lot of people don't. They think with Adesanya they need to just rush inside, get inside, make him uncomfortable, and there's a chance there that they catch him.
But he's a counter striker.
He is a counter striker, but he's also really good at just leg kicking from the outside. But I think he learned responsible defense, like what Blachowicz is doing. Check those kicks. Make Izzy try to come to you a little bit, like if you saw with the Romero fight. The one time Izzy pushed on Yoel, Izzy got caught because he's not as responsible coming forward when he's thinking offensively. But yeah, you have to be. I think Whittaker knows he needs to play a little bit more patient, play his game. Because I think Whittaker in that first fight with Adesanya was just trying to do what Gastelum did, but do it better than Gastelum. I think he was trying to just knock out Adesanya like Gastelum almost did. Gastelum was so close to finishing Adesanya, and vice versa. But I think he needs to go in there with his game plan. He needs to fight his fight. He needs to stop thinking about how long and fast
Yep.
and accurate Adesanya is, and he needs to just go at him like how he does everybody else. Like, okay, this is your strength, these are your strengths, and these are your weaknesses. And he just doesn't need to rush in there.
Yeah.
He needs to check those kicks, and he needs to feint on Izzy to get Izzy to react, and he needs to integrate his wrestling in there.
Yeah.
Because Robert Whittaker does have good wrestling. Man, Kelvin is, especially coming off that Ian Heinisch win, we were reminded that Kelvin's a good freaking wrestler.
Yeah.
That man can wrestle. And Whittaker took him down 4 times in this, all because they were sneaky. Like, yeah, I don't think he'd be able to just straight overpower him. And, yeah, he has good technique. But the main reason he got those takedowns is because Kelvin didn't see it coming from a mile away.
It's going to be interesting to see Whittaker go ahead and get this Izzy fight. I hope he does. You know, it's not official, but, everybody's thinking it.
He's getting it. I mean, dude, he's beaten more people in the division than Izzy has right now.
But, I mean,
Izzy tried to move
I've
up.
definitely have wanted fights to happen that Dana White just didn't approve my special request, even though I didn't send him one.
Dana isn't as interested in rematches because they want something that's like, oh, is this the guy? The one to dethrone the king?
Yeah.
But Whittaker has a chance to dethrone the king. I mean, again, I would say 70-30.
That he gets it?
That Adesanya wins 70. Whittaker
okay.
wins 30. Whittaker has a chance in that fight.
That doesn't sound like much of a chance, though. 70-30.
That's 3 out of 10, bro. Who knows what's going to happen on that night? Who knows what people show up that night?
I wouldn't take those odds, man.
Oh, I'm not saying bet on them. I'm just saying, like, Whittaker has a chance to win that fight.
Well, I mean, okay, so
3 out of 10, that's not bad.
and your magic powers of being able to call these fights, are you calling Izzy to win? Because I'm gonna bet you've have 100% in calling all these so far. Everything that's been on this podcast, you've been right about so far.
I'm sorry, Robert. I love you, bro. I think in another universe, if Izzy didn't exist, you'd be the reigning king right now. But I still got Izzy winning the rematch.
Robert, prove him wrong. Let's break his streak.
I love both.
I just
want to play.
I just want to play the devil's advocate right now.
Yeah. I love both the fighters. Honestly, I don't want to watch either of them lose that fight. Yeah. So
the 2 fighters though I would like to watch lose a fight is Ben Askren and Logan Paul.
Hey.
This is what we were talking about. Crazy day of fighting. Ben Askren had so much potential, and I remember all those days watching the Joe Rogan podcast and how
and wondering what Ben Askren would look like if he came over.
Who is this guy? And then he comes over and
he beat Robbie Lawler.
He did beat Robbie Lawler,
but that was controversial.
And then what was Masvidal the next fight?
Yeah, Masvidal.
He was his second fight, and then just got.
And then Damian Maia. And that's the one I was looking forward to.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want Ben Askren to come out and fight all the best strikers. I didn't want that.
You can't.
I wanted to watch him against some of the older fighters.
Damian Maia would have been a great one, wrestling versus jiu-jitsu.
That did happen.
I know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's the fight I was looking forward to when it was called. And Ben, he showed off his little bit of striking, but. Yeah, Damian Maia was a whole other beast down there.
I need to watch that fight.
And
That's
Askren
I haven't seen it.
Askren could not keep up with him on the ground. I mean,
only proves how jiu-jitsu. Like in wrestling, you're only taught to just not be on your back, to keep them, to pin them down. But in jiu-jitsu, you're taught to move them from pinning you and keep them from pinning you.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say it's necessarily about jiu-jitsu versus wrestling, because they both do both.
Yeah. Maybe more of an experience thing.
I think Damian Maia's just the fucking man. Dude, Damian Maia stayed in this game for so long. And he started cutting down to 170. He started off in 185.
I guess he could be one of the older fighters that, rivals Andrei Arlovski for how long he's been in.
I haven't seen him in a minute. But I love Damian Maia, dude. Mm-hmm. I was a big Damian Maia fan.
Yeah, but this Logan Paul and Ben Askren fight, that was such a ridiculous fight to watch. Oh, my goodness. I can't believe I actually stuck. I didn't watch it, but I can't believe I stuck around to watch the YouTube video I watched it on.
I watched YouTube stuff. I definitely wasn't going to pay pay-per-view.
I know.
I mean, hopefully they made a lot of pay-per-view because they spent a lot of money.
Oh,
to
I'm
have
sure.
Snoop Dogg, to have the comedians up on the panel, to have Doja Cat and Justin
Have
Bieber come out and play. It's like
Pete
it's a circus.
Davidson, as soon as they go out screaming, "I'm gonna come,"
Yeah,
like
it's a circus.
that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Do not, Snoop Dogg, I love you. I'll jam your music all the time,
I
but
hate Snoop
do
Dogg.
not put
I can't stand that
Snoop
man.
Dogg screaming, "Give me my money" during a fight. I don't want to hear that. I really don't.
He's
you
so
know?
disrespectful when it
And
comes to
I
fighters.
think he bet.
literally just started talking crap about Ben Askren from the very beginning.
I think he bet
I cannot
Dana
stand
White.
Snoop Dogg. His music, his personality, those little voiceovers that he does for Animal Planet. I don't care for
I
any
actually
of it.
think those are kind of.
I
funny,
can't.
man.
I didn't even think it was funny.
I
thought it was
kinda
weird.
funny.
Whatever. That's just me. I can't stand. Snoop
Those are
Dogg.
all opinions, but
When
I
he was
think
on
it
Dana
is.
White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. Oh, that man is so disrespectful.
I do think that he should not be around in like
No.
fighters and
I'm glad
commentating
Dana
for
got him
fights.
the heck off his show.
Oh my god, I just for one to even talk anything about the actual fight, like it only lasted 2 minutes into the fight. I feel like it was halfway rigged. I don't know what Ben Askren did. I feel like he got the phone call that morning to show up and fight this guy. You know?
Ben Askren's been training. He's been training with Freddie Roach.
I mean, Ben, has he been
He
drinking
even
with
went
Freddie
on
Roach
Teddy
too?
Atlas's podcast to talk about his boxing training. And his
What were they
experience.
fighting at any specific weight?
I don't know what weight they were fighting at.
I mean, that beer belly, man. Like,
Well, that Ben Askren's always had a dad bod.
I feel like he looked a lot better in some of his last fights.
Not really. He's a coach now, that full time. Like he's retired. He only took this fight because they offered him a lot of money.
And I mean, I respect that. Make your money.
I mean,
but
he
still.
said the only reason he took this fight is because of how much money they offered him. I was like, all right, cool, do your thing, dude. Doesn't matter if you win or lose.
Going through the fight, the ref never wanted to let them clinch, which probably helped Ben Askren a little bit.
Yeah, they definitely didn't want that to happen. I mean, I think Ben Askren still should have been up in his face, pushing him around.
Oh, yes.
Clinging on him for dear life to get Jake Paul to freak out, use up all his energy.
I
can't imagine Paul has very good cardio.
I have no idea.
I can't imagine that he'd be fresh in the 4th or 5th round.
Probably not, man. Like he's only had 2 fights, and that was the other thing.
But I will
too,
say he's
just the
conditioned
way
him to the body.
This was all just a money grab for Paul because the way that they were even announcing it, you get Ben Askren in one corner, and everything that they said about him was 2-time world champion in wrestling, wrestling champion, gold medalist, all this wrestling stuff, and then once said like MMA, his Bellator champion. But then
Bellator,
you have them pumping
FC.
up Logan. Is it ONE FC? Not
Yeah.
Bellator. Okay. But then you have them pumping up Logan as undefeated, like fighter that's never lost in his professional career.
2-0.
2-0.
Two fights, two victories.
If you really sit
Jake
there
Paul.
and analyze just the way that they were talking about both of them, like they set it all up for Jake to win. They had this whole like emotional thing at the in the beginning.
And
of
Shadow passed away. and
Yeah.
whatnot. And then Jake was like,
I'm doing this for
Shadow
him.
had a vision, like a vision that I was going to knock out Ben Askren in 2 minutes and 38 seconds of the first round. And he's like, and I'm going to do what I can to make that vision come true for Shadow.
It was only 2 minutes. I'm sorry, Shadow.
Yeah. Didn't make it to 2 minutes and 38.
No, I know, right? But I mean, do you think he should have? Because do you think it should have been stopped? I mean, you can't deny that Logan caught him with a good right. Jake, whichever one of the
YouTube stars.
I don't like any of them, so I don't care if I get their names wrong.
Yeah.
But he did catch him with the good right, put him down.
Yeah, he
but
conditioned him to the body.
But I think he
Caught him with the right
he
hand.
got up pretty
He got
quickly.
up. He was good to go.
I saw a slight wobble in his stance, but I do not think that he should have been called.
That being said, I don't think Ben Askren would have come back to win that fight.
No, not at all.
I don't think we found out early that he couldn't take Paul's power, and he's too slow. He couldn't see a lot of those punches coming. But yeah, what ultimately can I say about this? I have to agree with Jorge Masvidal, who put out a video, and the video was absolutely terrible. He said some awful things about Ben Askren. But at the end of the day, he's not wrong.
I don't think anything he said was wrong.
No, I think it was on point. Masvidal basically said that Ben Askren is not a representative of MMA. Ben Askren is not a formal rival of Masvidal. Ben Askren was always a wrestler who used his wrestling to win mixed martial arts fights. That's what he did.
Mixing a lot of backyard shit talking, then yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, right. Oh man, Jorge is so rough on Ben. I don't know what crap talk Ben used on Jorge Masvidal, but Masvidal still hates that man. And I like both of them. I have nothing against Ben Askren. I think Ben Askren's a good man who's focused on bringing up the next generation. Like, you could see it. He's not a bad guy. But, this isn't a representation of mixed martial arts coming to boxing. This isn't what a mixed martial arts fighter looks like coming into a boxing ring. No, this is a wrestler coming into a boxing ring. And not even like a strong, quick twitch fiber muscle wrestler. This is Ben Askren. Nothing against Ben Askren. I think he's a great fighter. Put Jake Paul in there in the octagon against Ben Askren. That man, he will make that man his girlfriend. Okay.
Well, tell me this: if you had to set up a super fight between an MMA star and a boxer, who out of the MMA contendership would you throw in that ring?
Man, I don't know all of the boxers, like, various weight classes and what weights they'd be comfortable at, but we're talking about an MMA fighter
MMA star that
boxing,
you want to go into boxing. Let's say we match the boxer, we match them up with the fair boxer, whoever they may be, but who would you want to see representing MMA in the boxing ring?
Conor McGregor was a good one. Dustin Poirier, I think, would do really well in a boxing setting. I want to say Francis Ngannou, but no, because he'd be in there against Fury and Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. I think actually that'd be an interesting fight. That'd be a dream fight right there. Francis Ngannou versus Deontay Wilder.
That would be a beautiful fight.
I think that would be a great fight. I don't know who would win that, honestly, because Wilder's not very technical. He's just fast and powerful.
I would also
got heart.
I would love to see Max Holloway maybe standing up against somebody in boxing.
Max Holloway would do pretty good.
Maybe even Jorge. I think because of the shit talk he was having, I think maybe it's his turn to go throw down in the boxing ring.
Jorge's so good at everything.
He is.
I'm trying to find somebody who's like,
but I would love
probably
to
shouldn't even be in MMA because they're wrestling or they have no kicks. Or
well, I mean, like, this guy was fighting Kimbo in his backyard. I want to see that kind of fighting go into like a sophisticated boxing match.
Okay. All right, guys. With that, we will wrap up our thoughts on the latest Kumite gossip. I'd like to thank you, Daniel, for being here and sharing your thoughts. I'd like to thank our technical engineer, the 9-Pro Ninja himself, Sean Myers. I'd also like to thank the fighters for going up on the world stage and laying it all on the line.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Except Logan Paul. Jake Paul, whichever one.
Jake or Logan. Lastly, but certainly not least, I'd like to thank everyone who entered the Kumite with us here today. Remember, this is not a sport. You don't play fight. Stay gold, Pony Boy.